Welcome back everyone. So we will continue from where we stopped last week. Last week we learned, if you remember, we did function revisions, objects, higher order function, and functional programming, if you remember. So I'm not sure if you remember everything, but you don't have to. And in addition, actually, we learned DOM. So today we will spend most of the time learning DOM. Yeah, so what's DOM actually? If you remember, document object model, and we defined what exactly this means actually. But before that, let's do some revision what we have learned last week. I think by now everybody knows how to create function, how to use function. Do you understand, guys? Let me know if you say something on that. Do you need some revision for function, or shall we move on?
Maybe a short recap, very short one, just to refresh our memories.
Okay, then let's create a file called refresher. Yes, refresher.js. And of course, I have to connect this refresher. I have to comment out this, or maybe I have to take it up. And not actually, I have to take it all the way up. That means commenting out. And let's do script and no, what was the name? refresher.js. And let's run our file. It's running in the other screen, so I will bring it here. And let's make everything on one. So Ctrl+Shift+I, as you know, by now you're familiar with that. And let's refresh. There's nothing. Console.log. This is a refresher. Yeah, so it's connected. Great. So last time we learned about functions, and function, as we understand from the name itself, it has some purpose. So for instance, if we want to add two numbers, so we should have add two numbers function, or if we have to multiply two numbers function. For instance, let's create a function which adds two numbers, and usually function we write with the keyword function followed by name of the function and followed by parentheses, and then we should have this curly bracket. Yeah, this is what you need. And then all the time what you should know that if you don't return anything from this function, then the value will be undefined. So let's see console.log name of a function. Let me call, because we call function by its name. For instance, you have a name and I call you by your name, right? So the same goes for function. So as you can see, the value of this function is actually undefined, and yeah, because we didn't return anything from here. But if I return something, let's see, if I return something, I am returning something. Yes, I'm returning something was returned from this function. Great. So this is how you create a function. So let's skip this as in like an example, but let's create another function, add two. Function add two numbers. As you may understand from the name of the function itself, it add two numbers, so it should take parameter maybe m and n, or maybe a and b, right? Let's just a and b. So the sum will be let sum will be a plus b. That's great. So if we don't return this, actually we don't get anything, but this is a proper function, as you can see. So now let's do console.log by calling add two numbers, and then the value, for instance, if we pass as in a argument, by the way, when you pass it here, when you declare the function, we call this parameters. A and b are parameters, and now I am passing an argument. So 1 and 2 should be 3, right? The sum? Yes, it is 3. And then you can do console. I don't have to write all the time. I can copy. And for instance, 3 and 2, I should get 5, right? I got 5. So now we wrote a very simple function. By the way, even you don't have to do this. You can just return without storing the value, the sum, in another variable. So I can just return it here, remove here, return. So now it's the just, and last time, if you remember, even we can write this as in a, what is this called, function expression. So I can comment out this first, and function expression is actually, if you just change this as in a variable, as you see, the function, this is a function expression, but it does the same thing. Okay, it doesn't have that much different from the function declaration. And then if you call console.log, this add two nums, and if you pass 1 plus 9, you should expect 10, right? I got 10. Great. And again, we also saw last time, if you remember, I can comment out this, and let me just write it down. If you remember, an arrow function, it doesn't need the keyword function, and you just need is an arrow, and this is actually an arrow function. As you can see, you got 10. So since we don't have lots of things going inside the curly bracket or the code block, even we don't need this return. We can just return it explicitly, as you can see. Wow, this is a very beautiful function. I just love it. I think by now you should be very familiar with function, but sometimes also we can pass any kind of default parameters. For instance, if I pass 2 and if I pass 3 here, the default will be 2 and 3. That means if I don't pass any parameter, the argument will be 2 and 3. Console.log add two numbers. So I'm not passing any argument. So as you can see, 2 and 3 are added, and you get 5. That's great. Let us move on to, again, refreshing of objects. Do you remember what we did objects last week? But I think it should be objects here. Last week we did this one. I think it might be a bit, it may take a long time to recap everything. Maybe we can do it. Let's do it. So object, this is how you create an object. Object, for instance, empty object. This is an empty object, object literal. So if you see console.log empty object, it doesn't have anything. For instance, let's create a car object. car, object means everything in programming is an object. So an object has properties. So that properties actually describe that object. I am a person and I have properties. I'm a teacher. My hair color is black. My eye color is brown, something like that. A car is an object. It has a color, it has a model, it has a type. So model may be 2020. So 2020, and that make whatever. We can say Toyota, and let's go for color, blue, black something, and this is enough for the time being. Okay, so if I want to get one of the property from the car, this is how I get. As we learned last week, car dot one of the property. I'm interested in the model. The model is actually 2020. Oh, great. Another way of also getting the property again is actually car, and then you can pass model, something like this, with a square bracket followed by the property. Yeah. And then this is, how about if I want to say add a new property. We want to add a new property, car dot manufacturer, or manufacturer. Oh no, manufacturer. Okay, it could be Toyota. Doesn't matter. Then maybe car country, it could be Japan or whatever. So now if you check your object, actually console.log object. No, I think we don't have object actually. The name of our object is car. So let's see our object. Now if you see at the very beginning, even at the, we have model, make, color, but after that we set new properties like manufacturer and country. So manufacturer and country were added to the car object. Yeah, great. Do you have any question, guys? You may ask me to slow down when I'm getting faster, and whenever you have question, also let me know. Great. So, and in addition, last week we learned methods, object methods. We can get car info. So we can create something like this, and this actually is a method for our car object. Let's check what do we get from here last time. This keyword refers to the object itself, right? So to know exactly if it is referring to the object itself, let's do console.log this. And then how do we make use of this, the car info? So car, actually console.log car info. So you just call it like this, and then actually I found, but at first it printed out this part. As you can see, 37, line 37, we wrote it line 37, so it's coming from line 37. So actually this refers to this object, so we can make use of that. So let us say this, we can say return something about this car is, for instance, the make. So instead of make, actually this dot make, it is from, again, this dot country. It was made in this dot model. So what I'm going to get actually is some information about that car. So have you seen this car is Toyota? It is from Japan and it was made in 2020. Great. So now we saw how to create an empty object. We saw different object properties like model, make, properties, or sometimes you may call them also keys or attributes or fields. And then we saw also how to set a new property, and we also create a method. This method can be also written like this without another way of writing, or a modern or recent way of writing the same thing. Okay, but don't be puzzled by the different way of doing the same thing. Okay, then we managed to get this info from the car. But today actually we will also talk about something we didn't cover last week. For instance, has own property. Has own property. Has own property actually check if the object has a property or not. For instance, if, and it returns a boolean, for instance. I think I want to ask you a question, and it's better if we see how this works. Do you think this car has a property model? You know that my questions are silly questions and so easy. Of course, yes, you see it here. Does this car has a property make? I'm waiting for your answer. Yes, you're right. Has this car a property color? Does this car a property gearbox? No, there is no gearbox here. So actually let's use has own property. So console.log car.has own property, has own property. If you pass model, it should be true. I'm expecting at least true. Yeah, great. Console.log car.has own property, and if you just pass make, and it should be true. Yes. Again, console.log car.has own property, and if we pass make, it should be true. Great. But as I asked you, and you said also it's false, and it should be false if we try to know if it has a gearbox or not. Console.log car.has own property and gearbox. False. Okay, now let's add a gearbox here and check. Gearbox automatic. Now it became true. So you can use has own property also to know if an object has some properties or not. Great. Now let us go to object different object methods which can help you to solve some problems. We will see keys, values. I think these are the most one, and actually it's also good to check on JavaScript for everyone. I have already there JavaScript for everyone, JavaScript for everyone. And if you just write object, not that one, object methods here. So we have the here keys, getting values. So I would recommend you to use as in a reference, a material which you check every time. It is so easy to follow. Objects, there are examples of objects here. Getting values from an object is setting, and we covered here. Object methods, object.assign, for instance, is actually help us to copy, because we can't copy an object. We didn't learn yet data mutation. I think next week we will also talk about data mutation. So this allow us, maybe I think it is even much better to cover it now. What does that mean, data mutation actually? Now, if I say const car2, and if I copy car1, and now what I have actually console.log car2. Do you see? And now I copied everything I have from car to car2. But if I modify this, the modification on car2 also affect the original car. So that means we are mutating the data. But if I use this method, object assign, it is not. What does that mean actually? Let me show you. Car2, what other, actually another property I want to add, for instance, mileage. It has been driven for maybe 5,000 kilometers. Now I only modified car2, right? But if I console.log car, it's already modified. Let me show you. Have you seen? It's car, the original car is also modified. To avoid this, we use the method, actually this assign method. How do we use it? I will show you. Car2 object is a keyword, assign, and we just pass an empty object, and then car. If we do something like this, I think we are copying the original car and we are storing it car2. And whenever we modify car2, it doesn't affect the original car. So now if you see, now car is from 67, as you can see. It may not have a mileage, great. But if I console.log car2, car2 should have the mileage. Have you seen? Great. That is the importance of object.assign, one of the methods. Now let's go to keys. Sometimes you may be interested only the keys instead of the values. So what you should actually do, const keys, you can store it in a keys or whatever you want, or then object, what's the name of car, actually object dot keys, and you pass the object. What was that? A car. So let's see. Then console.log keys. As you can see, we have a model, make, color, car info, gearbox, manufacturer, and country. Totally we have 7 keys here. from here because some of the keys are added here. Yeah, great. Even though car info is also a method, it can be considered as a key. Let's go for values. Actually, the same way or in the same fashion, values object dot values, and then you pass car, and then console. Remember, you should make console.log your best friend. It saves life, it saves time. So now it also gave us an array of the values. The values are actually 2020, Toyota, blue black, and also the function value and automatic. So we can change something like this. So it is good. And let me just take you, for instance, have you seen this? I want to show you something here. This is an object. This is an object, and if you see this object, inside the object there is another object, Alex, and then here Sabine, and here Brooke, and Daniel, and John, and Thomas. There are different objects. Actually, last time when I was teaching you loops, I taught for, I taught while, do while, and then we learn also for each. Did we cover for each? For of. And then when we reach for in, I told you that it's not time yet today because it is meant for object. For instance, if you want to iterate through this, you can use for in. For const user in users. Just console.log user. Then you will manage to iterate through Alex. Yeah, have you seen this? Even now, because here as you can see Alex, but Alex actually has this information. Sabine has also this information. If you are interested, then you can go deeper. How can we go deeper? Let's do it differently. I think this is the okay. Actually, we can say console.log users, and then you can extract it from the object itself. How is it work? For instance, if you do, let me show you, console.log users, and if I pass Alex like this, it should give me Alex, right? Yeah, I'm getting from 130 this Alex information. So actually this loop does the same. Users, give me Alex, give me Sabines, give me. So it goes like that. Great, I think we have covered everything you need about object. Now let's move on to higher order function. Higher order function. Higher order function. Higher order function, as I told you, it is like composition function in mathematics. F of g of h of x. It's something like this. So as you can see, if you take this out, what is the value? The independent value for f is actually that g of the, and then for g of, it's everything this. Yeah, the output of this one will be input for g of x. G of x input will be input for f of x, some kind of, but it is not actually exactly similar, but it's somehow similar. So don't make an exact association, but you can make analogy. So what is the definition of higher order function? Last time we said that higher order functions are functions which return another function or pass another function as in a parameter. So let's do something, for instance, const make square. Oh, come on, don't do that. And then n, you know this, right? By now you should know this. Yeah. Who doesn't know this? Let me know. Does everybody know this? Because by now I am expecting from everyone that you should understand what this does. Let me see from the comment. Yeah, this is simple. The name is make square and it makes square. Okay, now let's do another higher order function. I call it this const cube or make cube, but cube I call it. And this one actually takes a callback and a parameter, and then what it does actually call back, I have to call it n times n. So this callback. A callback means actually this is a function. So I am passing a function. So as we say that higher order function takes function as a parameter or return a function. This is the definition. Let me just make parameter. Okay, great. So as you can see, this actually callback, if we pass make square now as in a parameter, console.log cube and make square, and then we pass 2. What's the cube of 2? The cube of 2 means actually 2 the power of 3. Yeah, do you agree? Do you agree with the result? The result is already 8. I'm not sure if this is big enough. Oh, this is too much. I think it's too big. Maybe I can make this big enough. Great. Yeah, let's do console.log cube and make square of actually make square, and if we do 3, the power of 3 is 27. How does actually anything you pass here as in a function, as in a callback, it goes here and it will be called here. So that's why it's like call me back. Yeah, let's imagine you are about to go somewhere, you have an appointment, you are left with some amount of minutes, and someone you know just wants to talk to you, but you don't have really time. So you say, just give me a moment, or give me some time, or just call me back. So it's like, it works like that. You don't call it right away, you don't use it right away, but it comes here and it will be called and used. That's why we call it callback. Does it make sense, guys? Yeah, so this is one of the definitions. So we use as in a parameter. Let's try to return. Last time, if you remember, do arithmetic function. This do arithmetic function actually, it does all the arithmetic, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponentiation, or whatsoever. So I may have const add 2, and maybe I may have a plus b, I mean a and b and a plus b. Of course, if it's addition, you add two numbers. So if I return this add 2, have you seen here what I'm trying to do? This is the function, and I am returning the function here. So based on the definition, a higher order function is a function which returns another function. So this is a higher order function. And based on also this higher order function takes function as a parameter, this is another higher order function. So let's do, how do we make use of this? Console.log do arithmetic, and if I call this function, if you call it, do you know what you get? The function itself. So you have to call it again. Now when you call it once more like this, and you should pass a value, for instance 1 and 2 should give me 3. Why not? What did I make wrong here? Okay, yeah, because it's not it should be comma. Yeah, it's 3 as you can see. And even if you remember last time, const product or multiply, so a b, and we can do a times b. And then now in a function, I have to say this again, in a function you return one thing. A function can't return multiple things at once. So, but I have two things here. I have two functions. I have to return them. So I can't return them at once. So I have to restructure. So I have to use an object. For instance, you can create an object like this actually. Just this, create a kind of object, add to and multiply. So now instead, how can I access this? Do arithmetic and add 2, and then 1 2, it should give me 3. I think I need one extra parenthesis. What is that? Okay, let me invalid. So whenever you see something like this also, guys, because as a developer most of the time you spend figuring out bugs, it says unquote syntax error, invalid left hand side because I forgot to use the arrow here. I think by now it should be fixed, but still unquote do, yeah, wait, unquote typer do arithmetic is not a function. 149. Let me see why it's not a function. Are you kidding me? Okay, this is a function, this is a function, and this is a function.
Should you not have the two brackets after do arithmetic because it's a function? Would you not do that?
Which
and
one?
after do arithmetic, you know, console log do arithmetic, because before you had this this bracket open and close because it was a function. You call the function,
Yes,
and then it return you a function.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, I got it. So it has to be called. Yeah, great. It has to be called as Mark said, it has to be called. This is because the function first. When we call it, we get the object. Let me show you guys, just by calling only the function, what do we get actually? Calling do arithmetic, and then you should get an object. Have you seen your object? We got two objects, and these two objects do have two functions, the add 2 and the multiplication 1. So we can extract it from that. So I can copy and write it down maybe. Thank you, Mark, again, because you saved my time. Sometimes it's hard to figure out tiny bugs. Okay, add 2 and then 1 2. as you can see, 1 plus 2 is 3. It's known, right? Console.log, do arithmetic, and then I can do again multiply 2 by 3, and we should get 6. Yeah.
So, Asabine,
yes.
Does that mean that do arithmetic as a function, it now has no parameters?
Yes.
And
with no parameters. Yes, with no parameters. As you can see, when we create it, when we declare the function itself, it doesn't take parameters. And when we call it, we don't pass arguments. Okay,
and then the object that it contains, it now has, is it 2 attributes, and both of those attributes are actually functions?
Yes.
Is that how it's working?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, this is a short way of writing object. This is actually means this. Yeah. So what's the key? The key is add 2, and the value is this function. And multiply, and again, this is the key, and the value is actually this function. But now using ES6, we can make it even shorter the way I wrote it previously. Great. I think we are done with also higher order function. If you don't have a question, this is a revision part, but we are spending too much time. Maybe we end up without doing what we are supposed to do today. Okay, but I am not going to revise this. Do you think it's important, or did you just understand functional programming like map? Functional programming is map and filter, reduce, sum, every, find index. These are the common one. Yeah, but I think let's just revise it. Maybe it's good to revise because DOM, without having a very good understanding of the basic JavaScript, DOM sometimes go crazy. Then let's do the revision of functional programming. After that, we will have a break. Functional programming. Yeah, functional programming is actually, it gives you methods to manipulate most of the time arrays. So instead of writing long lines of code in just short lines of code, you can achieve lots of things. You can solve lots of problems. But if you write code by yourself, sometimes even you may not solve it. Okay, so it makes your life much easier. It makes your code more clean. Yes. Honest. Numbers. Everybody love numbers, right? Don't you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is so easy. We have just, how many numbers do we have? 5 numbers. So for instance, I may ask you to create a replica of these arrays, but instead of just the numbers, the square of this. The square of this. Maybe you should do, you have to modify this, maybe for const num of numbers, right? And then you do some kind of console.log num. If you do that, as you can see, I managed to print 1, 2, but instead of doing this, by the way, we do have this make square function. I can make use of that. Make square function from top, and I pass it. I think I forgot one. As you can see now, it is squared, but the point is I have to store it. So I call it new array, new or squared numbers, nums, and I can just put it like that. Instead of printing them out, actually I can store them by pushing. So push is, as you know, it's an array method. So by now, if I just console out the value of squared nums, and then it might be yes. Have you seen the output? we managed to square these numbers. But actually, the easy way to do is using map. Sorry, the easy way to do this is map. Just map, I will just comment out this, how easy it's going to be. Const squared nums, and what will you do? Numbers dot map. You remember the structure, right? It takes a callback function. So the callback function is going to be something, so it takes callback function here. What's the callback function looks like? Function, I can just call it callback for the time. No, don't do that. Callback, and it could be an item and an index, and then it returns something. We return maybe item times the item. But for this specific case now, we don't need the index. Now, if you just console.log squared, the reason why I'm really fast, because we've covered this. Have you seen I got the same result? Yeah, but callback here, as you can see, we don't need to write separately there. We are not going to reuse this function. If we don't have a plan to reuse this function, no need to write it separately or independently. Instead, I have to bring this here. So I don't need this there. So I will write it inside function, and then it's going to be num, and it's going to be something like this, num times num. And then again, I got the same result. But as we have agreed that this arrow function is so beautiful, sometimes it makes your code so nice, so clean. And we don't need actually this function, and instead I use arrow function, and it will be something like that. And I don't have lots of things inside the curly bracket, so I remove this curly bracket and return explicitly. Remove this, and then what I have is actually a couple of just this line. That's beautiful, right? Yeah, I think if I just save it, it will be something like this. Okay, now we saw map. Mapping means actually you change one thing to another, but the numbers should be remain the same. For instance, I have 5 items, I should have 5 items. If you remember also like the country case, countries, we'll have countries, right? Finland, and of course next to Estonia, you know what's coming. And then it's going to be Sweden, and then it's going to be Denmark. Okay, Denmark, whatever. Maybe just let's not mean to be Norway, so let's just add Norway. So we have 5 countries. Is that 5 or 6? Who cares? But we have some countries here. And then if I ask you to generate the uppercase form of these countries, now I didn't get any name, but const capitalize or some names. Countries with uppercase. I don't like this name, but it doesn't matter. Uppercase, whatever. So countries, this is what you do, map, and then just I use again another curly bracket, country, because I'm then country to uppercase. Yeah, so this VS Code is so smart. It gives you an option, even you don't have to remember everything. So you do this, and now if I just print out console countries with uppercase, now I should get yeah, Finland. And even last time we were so crazy that we just even generate something like this with uppercase, with the original itself, with a comma, and then also the country length, dot length. Yes. Now we got array of arrays, Finland, and it looks like this. Even if you want to, how about for instance if I ask you to add this, the country code Fin Est Swede, something, then, nor, something like that. You can do also something like that, but we don't invest too much time for a tiny thing, but you do that, you try, or do some exercise over here because there's already lots of them. Now let's move on to filter. Okay, what's the purpose of filter? As you can understand from the word or from the name filter itself, we filter things out from a group, right? So we filter them out. For instance, if we go to these numbers, we may filter out the even numbers. So if I tell you to filter out even numbers, what output do you expect? What is the output is going to be? I'm expecting answer from the comment box, guys. It should be very interactive. If I am filtering this out, even numbers, what would be the output like? Really? Of course. Yeah, but it's another array and the outputs are 2 and 4. If I am filtering based odd numbers, and the output is going to be 1, 3, 5. So let's do evens. Const evens. So even nums or even nums maybe. So numbers, from numbers I'm filtering, and so I just call this. When do we call a number is even? If a number is divided by 2 and if the result is 0, that means it's an even number. So let's see, console.log even nums. Great. Let's see the output. Yeah, as you can see, our output is an array and containing only even numbers. Great. Let's move on to const odd nums. From the same numbers and filter and num. So the opposite, this word, the opposites, we can just say if number divided by 2 and if it's not 0, then actually that's odd. Console.log odd nums. As you can see, we managed to filter out the odd numbers. Great. Now we saw how to use filter. Now let's move on to let's do another more example of a filter. For instance, if I want to filter out Finland from the rest, a country containing land. Yes, that's great. Countries, const countries with land. Oh, sorry, other countries are without land, but filter, but Finland is with a land. And then country, how do we check? We use this string method. What string method do we use, guys? You may suggest to me. We have used many times, okay? So by now you should remember it. But if you don't remember also, you just go to Google and string methods, or maybe JavaScript for everyone. So how do I filter Finland from this country's list? And my criteria is actually land. What method do I use here? I'm waiting for answer from the comment. Includes, yes, includes is good one. So country, thank you Anna. Country includes, and then what is this, land? But this may actually, now I will show you something. Countries with land. So we managed to filter out Finland. But how about if we wrote this? Do you think, for instance, if it was written like this, Finland, do you think it will filter it out? If it was uppercase, do you think it filtered it out? Actually, we saw already the result. It's already what? Empty. So it failed. How can we solve this problem? How can we solve this problem? We can chain it. How do we chain it? First, two lowercase first. After we lowercase, we can check. Now we got it, Finland. Have you seen? So you can also chain methods one after another. Okay? Great. Now let us move on to reduce. Reduce. Okay. Do you remember the example I gave you for reduce last time? Okay, we have here mango. Okay, we have maybe guava. I like guava, mango, guava, and another maybe papaya. Okay, so we have fruits, but you may say, what? Fruit and reduce JavaScript method? What the relation here? You may say so, but okay, we have a plan to make a juice, a mango, guava, papaya mix. You just put this together in a blender and you get what? What do you get? Juice. It's just one thing. The result is all the time. Anything you get from reduce is one. From map, you get arrays. From filter, you get arrays. From reduce, you get one thing. Okay, let's go. For instance, if we want to get the sum of this, so what we can do is actually const total numbers dot reduce. Reduce actually takes two parameters, and the parameters actually is accumulate and current. Let's see the value here. Console.log. The accumulate and the current. What is it? I think I usually make this current. So this is not actually a keyword. You can call it any name. Just so as you can see, the accumulate, the first value was actually 1. The first value was 1 for accumulate. But the next time when it comes, it is undefined. So for accumulate all the time, what is this? The first value will be the first value of the array. Well, let's just get you up. It's a bit up. So it's 1. But we can pass actually here a value. For instance, if I start from 100. Yeah, you can start from 100 now since I gave it a value. So it started from 100. But if you don't give it any default value, it starts from the first value. Yes, but I think if you are adding, it's good to make this 0. If you are multiplying, it's good to make this 1. So now we are adding, so I'm going to just put this. So, and what I do is actually return accumulate plus current. And then the result will be console.log total. So 15. Do you think the sum of these numbers is 15? 1, 2, it is 3, 6, 10, 15. Great. Now we saw map, filter, and reduce. maybe I think before I finish, let's also check find. Find is somehow similar to filter, but it's a bit different. It just gives you find one value. For instance, I think it's really far to see this. If I am looking for 3, and if we have 3 somewhere else, it just stop here when it got 3. If I'm looking for 4, it just take the first 4. It doesn't go further. Yeah, for instance, let's go for this one. And we're looking for 3. Const find for 3. I'm just numbers find and then num. How do you, if it is 3? This is so easy. And then check the value, console.log 3. As you can see, it gives you 3, the first one. How about if we are trying to find this, if there is Finland or Norway, or a country containing Y, a way. Norway has a way. Oh, country has a way to do whatever. Let's find this country Norway with a way. So maybe let's const country with way. Of course it's country, countries dot find and a country. So first you should lower as with 2 lowercase and then includes way. So let's try console.log if country with way is a Norway. Yeah, Norway is a country with way. So it just give you one value, but filters out many items. If it's, for instance, from the big country arrays, we filtered out the countries containing land. So it was like about 11 countries. I think we have to have a break here and we will come back after 15 minutes. How about that? Yeah, and then right away we just dive into DOM. Great, take a coffee or tea, whatever you want, and please come with a great energy, and then we will devour DOM. Yeah, so I will see you at 7. Bye.